So let me ask you this.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you actually remember the last time you woke up without an alarm clock? Feeling, genuinely refreshed, ready to go, no caffeine needed?
Hmm. Probably not recently for most people listening, I'd guess.
Exactly. If you're like, what, two-thirds of adults in developed countries, the answer is probably no. And that's where we're diving in today. Because it's kind of astonishing, really,
It is.
that until very, very recently, science couldn't definitively say why we sleep. We get eating, drinking, reproducing,
Hmm.
those basic drives.
Yeah, we've understood this for ages. But sleep, it's been this huge biological puzzle, even though it takes up, a third of our lives.
And what's really wild, thinking about it from an evolutionary angle,
Oh, absolutely.
sleep seems like a terrible idea.
Right. From a survival standpoint, it's incredibly counterintuitive. You're just lying there.
Totally vulnerable, can't get food, can't find a mate, can't watch out for danger, can't protect your kids.
It's a massive risk. It really makes you wonder what the payoff could possibly be to justify it.
That's exactly it. What are the huge benefits that outweigh those dangers? So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack what some researchers call the rich litany of functions sleep provides.
Right.
We want to show you how this state, which seems so passive, actually boosts pretty much every organ, every process in your brain, and maybe more importantly, highlight the serious dangers when we don't get enough.
Yeah, the downsides are pretty staggering when you look at the data.
So think of this as maybe a scientifically solid intervention, because sleep really is, like many are saying now, this huge missing piece in how we talk about health today.
It's a glaring omission.
So let's start at the beginning. How do we even define sleep? I mean, beyond just lying down and closing your eyes.
Well, scientifically, there are sort of 5 key things we look for. First, there's usually some kind of immobility, often a specific posture that's typical for the species.
Okay.
Second, you're not really responsive to the outside world. You lose that conscious awareness. Third, and this is crucial, it's easily reversible. You can be woken up. That's what separates it from, say, a coma or anesthesia.
Got it. Not permanent.
Exactly. Fourth, it follows a pretty reliable 24-hour pattern. That's our circadian rhythm kicking in. And fifth, fundamentally, your brain has sort of lost its waking connection to everything going on outside.
One thing that always gets me about sleep is how time just disappears.
Oh, yeah.
Like you fall asleep on a plane, you wake up, could have been 5 minutes, could have been 5 hours. No clue. It's just this blank space.
It's a chronometric void, as some call it. But here's the fascinating part. While your conscious mind loses track, your non-conscious brain, it's still keeping time
How so?
with incredible precision, actually. You know how sometimes you set an alarm for, say, 6:00 a.m.?
And you wake up like 2 minutes before it goes off?
Exactly. 5:58, wide awake.
Yeah.
Your brain is still logging the minutes, just not telling your conscious self about it.
That is remarkable. That's subconscious timing. So, okay, for a long time, we didn't even realize sleep wasn't just one uniform state.
That's right. It was thought of as just switching off.
So what was the big discovery? What changed everything?
That breakthrough really happened back in 1952, University of Chicago. A researcher named Eugene Oserinsky, working with Professor Nathaniel Kleitman,
Kleitman, the Mammoth Cave guy.
the very same. And apparently even Kleitman's infant daughter, Esther, played a role. Oserinsky noticed that sometimes when babies slept, their eyes would dart around like crazy under their eyelids.
Oh.
And during those times, their brainwaves looked really active, almost like they were awake. But other times, their eyes were still and the brainwaves were slow and calm.
So 2 different kinds of sleep.
Exactly. That was the big revelation. We don't just have sleep. We cycle through 2 totally distinct types. NREM, or non-rapid eye movement sleep,
Okay, the calm one.
and REM, rapid eye movement sleep, the active one.
So NREM is the deep, quiet brain work, and REM is this buzzy, almost awake state. Why? I mean, why have 2 completely different modes? What's the evolutionary point?
That's a great question. And it really boils down to the different vital jobs each stage performs. NREM sleep itself actually has 4 stages, getting deeper as you go.
Okay.
In the deepest stages, 3 and 4, you get this amazing thing happening. Thousands, millions of brain cells start firing in sync. This incredible, slow, powerful electrical rhythm, like a deep chant across the whole brain.
Wow.
Hundreds of times a night. And during this, the thalamus, think of it as the brain's sensory gatekeeper.
Uh-huh.
It pretty much blocks incoming signals from the outside world. That's why you lose conscious awareness. And this unified state, it seems absolutely critical for transferring information, consolidating memories, Basically sorting and filing the day's experiences.
Okay, so that's NRM, deep memory work.
Yeah.
What about REM then, the paradoxical sleep?
Yeah, paradoxical is the perfect word for it. You've got those rapid eye movements, obviously, but also brain waves that look almost identical to when you're awake and alert.
Wild.
But here's the really key part. During REM, your entire body, from the neck down, is actively paralyzed.
Paralyzed, why?
It's a brilliant safety feature, actually. It stops you from physically acting out your dreams. Imagine the chaos if you didn't have that.
Oh, right. Yeah, that could be bad.
Very bad. And sometimes in certain sleep disorders, that paralysis mechanism does fail and people can, physically lash out or move during dreams, sometimes with dangerous consequences.
So these two types, NREM and REM, they're kind of battling it out all night. Is that how it works?
You could see it as a push-pull battle, yeah. They cycle back and forth roughly every 90 minutes.
90 minutes, okay.
But, and this is really important, it's a lopsided profile, as sleep scientists say.
Lopsided how?
In the first half of the night, say before 2 or 3 a.m., your sleep is dominated by that deep NREM sleep. Lots of stages 3 and 4, very little REM. But as the night goes on into the second half, the balance shifts dramatically. You get much more REM sleep, often in longer blocks, and much less deep NREM, maybe none at all towards the morning.
Right. So this is where it gets really practical for you listening. Why does this lopsided thing matter? What happens if you cut your sleep short?
It matters hugely. Let's say you normally need 8 hours, midnight to 8 a.m., but you have an early start, so you get up at 6 a.m. instead.
Okay, losing 2 hours. 25% less sleep. Seems okay, maybe?
You might think that, but because most of your REM sleep happens in those later hours, you might actually be losing 60, 70, even up to 90% of your total REM sleep for that night just by cutting off those last 2 hours.
Wow, 90%. That's huge.
It's massive. And conversely, if you go to bed really late, say 3 a.m., and sleep till 8, you've missed out on a big chunk of that crucial deep NREM sleep that happens earlier.
So it's like having an unbalanced diet, but for your brain?
That's a perfect analogy. You need both NREM and REM. They do different jobs, both critical for your brain and body. Shortchanging either one leads to problems, both physical and mental.
So the takeaway isn't just about total hours.
Not at all. It's about the quality, the balance, getting through those full cycles so you get enough of both kinds of sleep. That's really vital.
Okay, so we know what sleep is, the different kinds, NREM, REM. But how do our bodies actually know when it's time to sleep? Is it just feeling tired? Or is there something more fundamental going on?
Oh, it's much deeper than just feeling tired. We all have this built-in endogenous, meaning self-generated circadian rhythm, basically an internal 24-hour clock.
Okay, I've heard of circadian rhythms.
Right. It's not a new idea, actually. Back in the 1700s, a scientist named de Marin noticed plants had this daily rhythm even when kept in constant darkness.
Plants knew.
Yep. But the big human proof came from that same Professor Kleitman.
The sleep stage guy.
Yeah, him again. In 1938, he and an assistant, Bruce Richardson, did this pretty hardcore experiment. They lived underground in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky.
In total darkness.
Total darkness for 32 days to see if humans had an internal clock independent of the sun.
Wow. And did they?
They absolutely did. They found our natural internal rhythm isn't exactly 24 hours. It's slightly longer, about 24 hours and 15 minutes on average.
So wait, if our internal clock is a bit longer than a day, how do we stay synced up with the actual 24-hour rotation of the Earth? Wouldn't we drift later and later?
Good question. That's where a tiny part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, comes in.
SCN. Got it.
Think of it as the master clock. It sits right above your optic nerves, the cables carrying signals from your eyes to your brain.
Okay.
So the SCN gets direct information about light levels from your eyes. It uses that light signal, especially morning light, to reset itself every single day, pulling that slightly longer than 24-hour internal rhythm back to a precise 24 hours. It anchors us.
So light is the main cue.
Light is the principal signal, yes. But your body temperature rhythm is also a key player. Your core temp naturally starts to drop a couple of hours before your typical bedtime.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it drops by maybe 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit, hitting its lowest point about 2 hours after you fall asleep. And this dip happens like clockwork, based on your circadian rhythm, whether you actually go to sleep or not. It's a pre-programmed signal telling your body it's time to wind down.
Okay, this next bit I find really fascinating because it explains so much about people's different daily patterns. What about being a morning person or a night owl? Is that just habit or is it real?
Oh, it's very real. And it's definitely not just a choice or a habit. Your chronotype, whether you're naturally an early bird, a morning lark, or a night owl, is strongly influenced by your genetics.
Genetics, really?
Absolutely. If you're a night owl, chances are high that at least one of your parents is too. It runs in families.
So it's biological.
It's deeply biological. But unfortunately, society often doesn't treat it that way. Night owls frequently get labeled as lazy or undisciplined because they struggle with early mornings.
Yeah, the standard 9 to 5 or even earlier school starts, they're rough if you're an owl.
Exactly. The structure of our work and school days is heavily biased towards morning types. It effectively punishes night owls, forcing them to fight their own biology every single day.
And what does that do to them? Constantly living out of sync with your internal clock?
Mm.
Are there actual health consequences?
There are significant consequences. Because night owls often can't fall asleep until maybe 1 or 2 a.m., but they're forced to wake up early anyway.
They're chronically sleep deprived.
Precisely. And that chronic sleep loss contributes to much higher rates of depression, anxiety, diabetes, cancer, heart attacks, stroke. The list goes on.
Wow. So it's not just inconvenient, it's a genuine health risk dictated by our societal structure.
It's a real health disparity. We're forcing millions of people into an unhealthy, unnatural sleep-wake pattern just because of schedules designed, frankly, centuries ago.
Yeah, that's pretty sobering. Okay, so we have these natural rhythms, these sleep stages, but our modern lives are full of things that seem designed to mess them up. Let's talk about some of those saboteurs, starting with maybe the biggest one, caffeine.
Ah, caffeine.
Yeah.
The world's most popular psychoactive stimulant.
Right. We run on it. How does it actually work against sleep?
Okay, so throughout the day, a chemical called adenosine builds up in your brain. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates.
And that makes you feel sleepy.
Exactly. Adenosine creates sleep pressure. But caffeine is sneaky. It basically swoops in and blocks the adenosine receptors in your brain.
So the adenosine is still there, but the brain can't see it.
You got it. Caffeine latches onto those receptors, masking the sleepiness signal. But here's the catch. The adenosine keeps building up behind that caffeine blockade.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So when your liver finally manages to break down the caffeine, and how quickly that happens varies a lot between people, it's genetic too. All that pent-up adenosine floods back onto the receptors. And that's the caffeine crash, that sudden, intense wave of sleepiness.
It's a vicious backlash, I think I read somewhere.
That's a good way to put it. It's also worth remembering, NASA did this study back in the 80s, gave different drugs to spiders.
Spiders.
Yeah. Spiders on caffeine spun these bizarre, totally messed up webs. Just strikingly incapable was the description.
Wow. So the takeaway is caffeine doesn't give you energy.
Nope. It just borrows alertness from later by blocking your sleepiness signal.
Yeah.
And the bill always comes due. Plus, it's an addictive stimulant we routinely give to kids in sodas and things. That's something to think about.
Okay, what about melatonin? You see it everywhere now, supplements promising better sleep. Does it actually work like that?
Melatonin's role is widely misunderstood. It's not really a sleep initiator in the way people think. It's more of a sleep timer.
A timer.
Yeah, it basically signals to your brain that darkness has arrived, that it's nighttime. Think of it like the starting pistol for the sleep race.
Okay, it says go, but it doesn't run the race itself.
Exactly. It helps regulate the timing of sleep, but it doesn't generate the sleep pressure itself. That's adenosine's job. So for most healthy people, taking melatonin isn't a powerful sleep aid.
And the supplements themselves.
That's another issue. They're classed as supplements, not drugs, so they're unregulated by the FDA. Studies have found the actual dose in pills can be wildly inaccurate, way less, or sometimes way, way more than what's on the label.
Yikes. So inconsistent.
Very. Melatonin is useful, however, for things like jet lag.
Ah, yes. Jet lag. The bane of travelers.
Right.
What's actually happening biologically when we feel so out of whack.
Jet lag is basically your internal clock, that SCM we talked about, being totally out of sync with the new time zone's light-dark cycle.
Because we travel too fast for it to adjust.
Exactly. Your SCN can only shift by about an hour per day, maybe a bit more with careful light management.
Huh.
So if you fly across, say, 8 time zones.
It takes about 8 days to fully catch up.
Roughly, yeah. In the meantime, you're in this state of biological dissonance. And it's not just feeling groggy. Studies on flight crews who experience frequent jet lag show some worrying long-term effects.
Like what?
Things like physical shrinkage in parts of the brain involved in learning and memory, impaired short-term memory, and even higher rates of cancer and type 2 diabetes.
Wow. So it's a serious physiological stress.
It really is. Melatonin can help nudge the clock towards the new time zone a bit faster, but it doesn't magically erase the underlying disruption or generate the deep restorative sleep you need to recover.
Okay, another common one. Alcohol. Lots of people have a nightcap thinking it helps them sleep. True or false?
Definitely false. That's one of the biggest myths about sleep. Alcohol is a sedative, yes, but sedation is not the same as natural sleep.
How does it interfere?
Well, initially it does sedate the brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex. That's why inhibitions loosen up. But as your body processes the alcohol overnight, it leads to very fragmented sleep.
Fragmented how? Like waking up.
You get these numerous brief awakenings throughout the night. You might not even remember them in the morning, but they completely disrupt the continuity and restorative quality of sleep.
Okay.
And crucially, alcohol is one of the most potent suppressors of REM sleep known to science.
It blocks REM.
Very effectively. As the alcohol breaks down, its byproducts, things like aldehydes, actively prevent your brain from entering or sustaining REM sleep.
So you might pass out faster, but the sleep you get is terrible quality.
Exactly. You're getting sedation, not restoration. It dismantles your sleep architecture.
Okay, what about light? Especially all the artificial light we're surrounded by now. Phones, tablets, TVs.
Artificial light is a huge disruptor, especially the blue light emitted by LEDs in most modern screens and energy-efficient bulbs.
Why blue light specifically?
Our eyes have special receptors that are particularly sensitive to blue wavelengths. Evolutionarily, this helped sync our clocks with bright daytime sky. But now...
Sensitivity works against us at night.
Precisely. Evening exposure to blue light tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. It powerfully suppresses the natural evening rise of melatonin.
The starting pistol hormone.
Right, so it pushes back your natural sleep onset time. One study found that just 2 hours of reading on an iPad before bed blocked the normal melatonin surge by about 23%. And the effect lingered, causing a delay in melatonin release for several nights after they stopped using the iPad. Plus, it reduced REM sleep and made people feel less alert the next morning.
So that late night scrolling is actively sabotaging your sleep before you even turn off the light.
Absolutely. It's telling your brain, stay awake, it's not nighttime yet.
And temperature. I always find it harder to sleep if the room is too warm. Is there science behind that?
Definitely. Remember how your core body temperature needs to drop to initiate sleep?
Right, by 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah. So a cool environment helps facilitate that drop. It's much easier for your body to lower its core temperature if the surrounding air is cool. That's why it's almost always easier to fall asleep in a room that's too cold versus one that's too hot.
So what's the ideal temperature?
For most people, it seems to be around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 18.3 Celsius. Might sound a bit cool, but it supports that necessary temperature drop.
And things like central heating, warm pajamas, thick duvets, they might interfere.
They can create a sort of thermal cocoon that makes it harder for your body to radiate heat and cool down. Interestingly, some studies showed that gently warming just the hands and feet.
Warming? That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it actually helps. Warming the extremities dilates the blood vessels there, which allows heat to escape from the body core more easily, helping you cool down faster overall. People fell asleep about 20–25% faster in those studies.
Huh. So a cool room, but maybe keep your feet warm.
Could be a good strategy for some, yeah. Especially those with insomnia. The core needs to cool.
Okay, last saboteur. The humble alarm clock. Seems so necessary for modern life, but you're saying it's unnatural.
It is fundamentally an unnatural act, biologically speaking. We are the only species that deliberately, artificially terminates its sleep cycle prematurely.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
Think about what happens when that loud noise jars you awake. You get this immediate spike in heart rate and blood pressure. It's basically triggering your fight-or-flight stress response first thing in the morning.
An explosive burst of stress hormone.
Exactly. It's a cardiovascular assault we inflict on ourselves daily. I actually have this weird collection of ludicrous alarm clocks.
Like what?
Oh, ones that fly around the room, ones you have to chase, ones that make you solve puzzles, all designed to forcibly rip us from sleep. It's kind of barbaric when you think about the physiology.
So while necessary for schedules, it's biologically harsh.
Very. Ideally, we'd all wake up naturally at the end of a full sleep cycle, but modern life.
Modern life, indeed. Okay, so we've talked about what sleep is, the rhythms, the things that mess it up. Let's pivot to the good stuff, the profound benefits. You said earlier, sleep is the single most effective thing we can do for our health.
I stand by that. Unequivocally. It's the single most effective thing we can do each day to reset the health of our brain and our body. It's like Mother Nature's best effort yet at fighting off decline and decay. It's contra-death, essentially.
Contra-death. Wow. That's a powerful way to put it. So how? How does sleep perform these miracles? Let's start with learning and memory. That seems like a big one.
It's huge. We talked about deep NREM sleep dominating the early night.
Right, the slow waves.
That stage is absolutely crucial for consolidating factual information stuff you'd learn from a textbook. The more deep NREM you get after learning, the better you retain that information.
So it's like hitting save on the day's files.
Exactly. But it's more than just saving. Sleep can actually salvage memories that seemed lost during the day. You know that feeling when you try to recall something, can't get it, but then after sleeping?
It just pops into your head.
Yeah. Sleep seems to strengthen those memory traces, making them accessible again. It's actively repairing and enhancing, not just storing.
And what about that targeted memory reactivation you mentioned? Enhancing specific memories overnight. Sounds like science fiction.
It's rapidly moving from sci-fi to science fact. Researchers are finding ways to selectively boost memories by playing associated sounds or smells very quietly during sleep.
Seriously?
Yeah. It shows the sleeping brain isn't just passively filing, it's actively processing and can be guided to some extent. Of course, there are ethical questions there, but scientifically, it's fascinating.
And sleep also helps us forget.
Absolutely. Forgetting is just as important as remembering. Sleep intelligently prunes away unnecessary connections or less relevant information.
Look where you parked your car last Tuesday.
Exactly. Or maybe even softening the emotional edges of painful memories over time. Forgetting is, in a way, the price we pay for remembering what truly matters. It clears space.
Okay, so that's factual memory. What about skills? You know, muscle memory, playing piano, sports, that kind of thing.
Sleep is absolutely critical for that, too. That phrase muscle memory is a bit of a misnomer, though. The muscles themselves don't remember. It's the brain circuits controlling them that get refined.
Ah, okay.
The saying should really be, practice with sleep makes perfect.
With sleep.
Yes. There's this great anecdote about a pianist struggling with a difficult passage, getting frustrated, going to bed.
And waking up able to play it.
Perfectly. And research confirms this. Improvements in motor skills, what scientists call offline learning, happen almost exclusively during sleep, specifically during certain stages of NREM sleep later in the night.
Not just with time awake.
Nope. An equivalent period of wakefulness shows little to no improvement. Sleep seems to automate the movements, shifting control from conscious effort to more instinctual second-nature circuits.
So for athletes, musicians, surgeons, sleep is literally part of the practice.
Absolutely essential. And interestingly, those last couple of hours of sleep, which are rich in specific NREM brainwaves called sleep spindles, cutting those off seems to particularly hurt the consolidation of motor skills.
Yeah.
So that early wake-up call could be detrimental to perfecting that golf swing or surgical knot. If you don't snooze, you lose that skill refinement.
Wow. Okay, what about our emotions? I know when I haven't slept well, I feel prickly, easily upset.
You're describing a classic effect of sleep deprivation. It throws our emotional regulation completely out of whack.
What's happening in the brain?
When you're sleep deprived, the amygdala, that's kind of the brain's emotional gas pedal reacting quickly to threats or strong stimuli, it becomes hyperactive, overly sensitive. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the more rational part of the brain that acts like the brake keeping emotions in check,
goes offline.
it becomes significantly underactive, almost silenced. So you've got an over-revving emotional engine and faulty brakes. That's why you get those big pendulum-like swings in mood, irritability, and irrational emotional responses.
That makes so much sense.
And REM sleep specifically seems crucial for processing and healing emotional experiences.
Healing how?
During REM, your brain reactivates emotional memories. But, and this is key in a neurochemical environment that's very low in stress chemicals like noradrenaline, it's like therapy. You reprocess the events without the intense emotional charge.
So it takes the sting out of difficult memories.
That seems to be the function, yes. Getting good REM sleep helps you divorce emotion from experience. And people who get better REM sleep are also better at accurately reading others' emotions the next day. They have better emotional decoding.
Which leads back to that really important question you raised about teenagers. We force them into early school schedules, cutting their REM sleep.
Right, when they're navigating perhaps the most complex emotional world of their lives, and right when their brains are trying to mature that prefrontal cortex, the emotional break.
So we're essentially bankrupting their dreams, as you put it, and potentially hindering their emotional development.
It's a significant biological mismatch with serious consequences for their mental health and ability to regulate their emotions. It's a societal problem we really need to address.
Absolutely. Okay, beyond memory and emotion, does sleep help with things like creativity, problem solving?
Yes, REM sleep in particular seems to be a hotbed for creativity. It fosters what some call ideesthesia.
Anesthesia.
Yeah, the linking of concepts or ideas. During REM, the brain seems to make connections between very loosely related pieces of information, things your waking logical brain might dismiss as unrelated.
So it thinks outside the box.
Way outside the box. It finds these wonderfully eclectic connections. You hear famous stories, right? Dmitri Mendeleev dreaming the structure of the periodic table.
Right, I've heard that one.
Keith Richards supposedly dreaming the riff for, I can't get no satisfaction, Mary Shelley's dream-inspiring Frankenstein.
Wow.
While we can't verify all those anecdotes perfectly, the science supports the idea that REM sleep's unique neurochemistry allows for these broad associative leaps, helping us find novel solutions to problems or generate creative insights.
So sleep isn't just organizing the old stuff, it's generating new stuff too.
Exactly. It's a powerful engine for innovation.
Okay, we've covered a lot about the brain. What about the rest of the body? Physical performance? General health?
The impact is just as profound. Let's take athletic performance. Sleeping less than 8 hours, even just for a few nights,
Yeah.
can reduce the time it takes an athlete to reach physical exhaustion by 10 to even 30%. Aerobic output drops, limb strength decreases, vertical jump height reduces.
That much, just from less sleep.
That much. Plus, injury rates skyrocket in sleep-deprived athletes. On the flip side, getting sufficient sleep after performance significantly speeds up physical recovery, muscle repair, and replenishing energy stores.
So pro sports teams should be all over this.
The smart ones are. They're realizing sleep isn't downtime, it's critical performance enhancement and injury prevention.
Okay, what about metabolic health? Things like diabetes risk, appetite.
Huge connection. Chronic short sleep, regularly getting less than, say, 6 hours a night, significantly increases your risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
How direct is that link?
Very direct. One study took healthy young adults and restricted their sleep to just 4 hours a night for only 6 nights.
Yeah.
After just those 6 nights, their ability to manage blood sugar was so impaired, they met the criteria for being pre-diabetic. Their cells became about 40% less responsive to insulin.
Just from 6 bad nights. Wow.
It shows how quickly and powerfully sleep impacts your fundamental metabolic processes. Sleep loss essentially makes your body insulin resistant.
And appetite. Does lack of sleep make you hungrier?
It absolutely does. Insufficient sleep messes with the hormones that control hunger and fullness.
Mm-hmm.
Leptin, the hormone that signals I'm full, its levels decrease. Ghrelin, the hormone that screams I'm hungry, its levels increase.
So you feel hungrier and less satisfied when you do eat.
Exactly. Sleep-deprived people essentially cry famine in the midst of plenty. And it's worse than just feeling hungrier. They specifically crave high-calorie, sugary, carb-heavy, salty snacks.
The junk food cravings kick in.
Big time. Cravings can increase by 30–40%. Brain scans show why. The impulse control centers in the prefrontal cortex are weakened, while the deeper, more primal reward centers are amplified, so you want the bad stuff more and have less willpower to resist. People end up eating hundreds of extra calories a day.
So trying to diet while sleep deprived is...
Pretty much counterproductive. You're fighting intense biological urges fueled by lack of sleep. It's incredibly difficult.
Okay, what about reproductive health? Seems like a fundamental aspect of biology. Does sleep affect that too?
It really does. In men, just 1 week of sleeping only 5 hours a night can lower testosterone levels so dramatically.
How dramatic?
That it effectively ages them by 10 to 15 years in terms of that key hormone. That impacts everything from energy levels and mood to muscle mass and fertility.
10 to 15 years. That's shocking.
It is. And for women, regularly sleeping less than 6 hours a night is linked to a significant, about 20% drop in follicle-stimulating hormones.
Which is important for...
Crucial for ovulation and conception. Short sleep is also associated with higher rates of irregular menstrual cycles, difficulty conceiving, and even increased risk of miscarriage.
So sleep is fundamental for fertility in both men and women.
Absolutely. It's woven into the fabric of our reproductive biology.
And our immune system. We hear a lot about sleep and getting sick.
That connection is incredibly strong and direct. Sleep is like the nightly tune-up for your immune defenses.
How so?
Well, take natural killer cells, or NK cells. These are like the immune system's secret service agents, identifying and killing dangerous invaders like viruses and even cancerous cells. One study found that just a single night of sleeping only 4 hours reduced the activity of these critical NK cells by a massive 70%.
70%. After one bad night.
70%. Imagine the impact of chronic sleep deprivation. It leaves your defenses severely weakened. This is likely why routinely sleeping less than 6 hours is linked to a roughly 40% increased risk of developing cancer.
Wow. And it's not just missing the chance to fight cancer cells. Does lack of sleep actually help cancer grow?
There's evidence for that too. Lack of sleep keeps your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight system, chronically activated. This promotes low-grade inflammation throughout the body, which is known to fuel the growth and spread of tumors.
So it's a double whammy, weaker defenses and a more fertile ground for cancer.
Exactly. It's why the World Health Organization has even classified nighttime shift work, with its inherent sleep disruption, as a probable carcinogen.
A probable carcinogen, just from the schedule. That's serious. And you mentioned it even affects our genes, our actual DNA.
Yes. It's not just about hormones or cells. Sleep impacts the very expression of our genes. Insufficient sleep can significantly alter the activity levels, turning them up or down of hundreds, even thousands of genes compared to when you're well rested.
Affecting what kinds of genes?
Genes related to inflammation, stress response, metabolism, immune function. The list goes on. And it gets even more fundamental. Lack of sleep seems to damage the physical structure of your DNA.
How?
It attacks the telomeres. These are the protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes, kind of like the plastic tips on shoelaces that stop them from fraying.
Okay.
Sleep loss accelerates the shortening and degradation of these telomeres. Shorter telomeres are linked to cellular aging, increased disease risk, and shorter lifespan. So insufficient sleep is literally causing artificial aging at the genetic level.
It's like we're performing a genetic engineering manipulation on ourselves every time we skimp on sleep.
That's a stark but accurate way to describe it. We are actively harming our genetic blueprint.
This is, honestly, it's quite overwhelming. The sheer breadth of sleep's impact. It makes you wonder, just how bad can the immediate consequences of sleep deprivation get? Beyond feeling tired.
They can get catastrophically bad. We talked about attention. Studies by David Dinges at UPenn showed that after just one night of no sleep, brief lapses in concentration microsleeps essentially increased by over 400%.
400%.
And it just got worse with more nights of deprivation. But maybe the scariest part of this is that people are terrible judges of their own impairment. You do not know how sleep-deprived you are when you are sleep-deprived.
We think we're doing okay, but we're not.
Exactly. You consistently underestimate how poorly you're performing. And with chronic sleep restriction, like getting 6 hours night after night, your brain resets its baseline. That low-level exhaustion starts to feel normal, even though your objective performance is still significantly impaired.
So those people who claim they're fine on 5 hours.
Statistically speaking, based on objective testing, the number of people who can genuinely function optimally on 5 hours of sleep or less without any impairment, rounded to a whole number, is 0%.
Zero.
Wow. It's a myth sustained by our lack of self-awareness when sleep-deprived.
Which brings us to something incredibly dangerous. Drowsy driving.
It's a massive, underestimated killer. Here's a terrifying statistic. After being awake for just 19 hours.
So getting up at 7 a.m. and still driving at 2 a.m. the next morning.
Right. Your cognitive impairment is equivalent to someone who is legally drunk with a blood alcohol level of 0.08%.
As bad as being drunk.
In terms of reaction time, judgment, attention, yes. And the risk of crashing doesn't just increase linearly, it exponentially mushrooms with less sleep. Less than 4 hours sleep, your crash risk is over 11 times higher.
11 times.
And combining drowsiness with even a small amount of alcohol. The effects aren't just additive, they're synergistic. Far, far worse. One simulator study showed 30 times more off-road errors when combining the two.
30 times.
The tragic reality is that in the U.S., drowsy driving causes more major road crashes than alcohol and drugs combined.
More than drunk driving. Why don't we hear about it as much?
It's harder to test for, there's less stigma. But it's a silent epidemic. That's why I really advocate calling them crashes, not accidents. They're often predictable results of choosing to drive while impaired by fatigue.
Predictable and preventable.
Exactly. There was that horrific case of the truck driver who'd been awake 34 hours straight, fell asleep at the wheel, and killed 7 people. It's devastating. The message has to be, if you feel drowsy behind the wheel, please, please just stop, pull over. It's not worth the risk.
Absolutely crucial message. So, beyond crashes, what's the ultimate limit? Can a total lack of sleep actually kill a person directly?
Tragically, yes. We know this definitively from a rare, devastating genetic disorder called fatal familial insomnia, or FFI.
Fatal insomnia.
Yes. People with this condition gradually lose the ability to sleep altogether. The case of Michael Cork, documented in the book The Man Who Couldn't Sleep, showed him progressively deteriorating over 6 months of no sleep until he ultimately died. His brain simply couldn't function without sleep.
So it proved, sadly, that sleep is not optional for human survival.
It proved a lack of sleep will kill a human being. Animal studies confirm this too. Rats completely deprived of sleep didn't die from brain failure directly, but
From what?
septicemia. Massive bacterial infections originating from their own gut. Their immune systems became so utterly compromised without sleep that their natural gut bacteria basically overran their bodies.
Wow. Their defenses just collapsed.
Completely. Which also sheds light on why sleep deprivation has been used as such a barbaric tool of torture throughout history.
Right. You mentioned Menachem Begin's experience.
Yes. The former Israeli prime minister wrote powerfully about being sleep deprived by the KGB. It doesn't make people better intelligence assets. It makes them confused, suggestible, prone to false confessions, and causes profound, sometimes permanent physical and mental harm.
Like what kind of harm?
Increased risk of suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, PTSD, cardiovascular problems, infertility. And yet, disturbingly, despite sleep deprivation being classified as mental torture by the U.S. military itself in the past,
Yeah.
later versions of the Army Field Manual allowed for restricting detainees to just 4 hours of sleep per night for up to 30 days, a level known to cause severe impairment and harm.
That's deeply troubling. Okay, this has all been quite sobering, laying out the necessity of sleep and the dangers of its absence. Feels almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there has to be hope, right? What can we actually do about this? How do we fix this societal sleep deficit?
Well, the first step is just acknowledging the scale of the problem. This isn't just a few tired individuals. It's a global health epidemic, as the WHO has called it. Like you said, 65% of U.S. adults aren't getting the recommended 7-9 hours.
And catching up on the weekend doesn't really work, does it?
It helps a little, but no, it's not a true recovery. Sleep debt isn't like financial debt. You can't just fully repay it later. Some of the damage done by lost sleep, especially chronic loss, lingers. You can't just binge sleep on Sunday and erase the effects of 5 nights of short sleep.
Okay, so awareness first. What about the bigger picture, the economic impact? Does lack of sleep actually cost us money?
Staggering amounts. In the U.S. alone, insufficient sleep is estimated to cost the economy over $411 billion every single year.
$400 billion? How?
Lost productivity, increased healthcare costs, accidents, it all adds up. Conversely, an independent report calculated that if people in the U.S. got just 1 more hour of sleep on average, it could add hundreds of billions back into the GDP.
So investing in sleep pays off.
Hugely. Well-slept employees are more creative, more motivated, more efficient, more collaborative, even more ethical and honest. Underslept leaders actually drag down the engagement of their teams. And fascinatingly, employees who consistently sleep more tend to earn higher salaries.
So smart companies should be prioritizing this.
The really forward-thinking ones already are. Companies like Nike, Google, even NASA. They recognize sleep isn't laziness. It's crucial for peak performance, innovation, and ultimately profit. NASA's work on naps is classic, just a 26-minute nap boosted task performance by 34% and alertness by over 50%.
So it's a business advantage.
A significant competitive advantage.
What about healthcare itself? You mentioned those brutal residency schedules. That seems like a place ripe for reform.
It's been historical lunacy, frankly. Those 30-hour shifts, sometimes longer, they were established over a century ago, partly influenced by figures like William Halsted at Johns Hopkins, who it turns out was battling a cocaine addiction and likely projecting his own chemically induced wakefulness onto trainees.
Seriously, cocaine.
Yeah, and the result? Decades of residents making mistakes due to exhaustion. Studies show those long shifts lead to 36% more serious medical errors. 1 in 5 residents admits to making a fatigue-related mistake that harmed a patient. And horrifyingly, estimates suggest that during their training, 1 in 20 residents will kill a patient due to a lack of sleep.
That is horrifying.
It is. After 22 hours awake, a resident is as cognitively impaired as someone legally drunk.
Yeah.
We wouldn't let a drunk doctor operate, yet we've normalized profound impairment from fatigue. Reforming those schedules is an ethical imperative.
Beyond schedules, can sleep be used therapeutically in hospitals?
Absolutely. Sleep is a natural analgesic. It dulls pain perception. After just one night of poor sleep, pain sensitivity increases by over 40%. Better sleep could reduce the need for opioid painkillers.
Wow.
Plus, it boosts the immune system to fight infection, accelerates wound healing. Good sleep could mean shorter, safer hospital stays. Simple things like minimizing nighttime noise and interruptions, maybe scheduling procedures around patients' natural rhythms. It could transform care.
So embedding sleep as part of the treatment plan.
Exactly, making it a vital sign, just like blood pressure.
Okay, so reforming institutions is key. What about public policy and things we can do ourselves or encourage through technology or education?
On the policy front, we desperately need better public awareness campaigns about drowsy driving, funded at a level that reflects its danger, similar to drunk driving campaigns.
Right.
Technology offers huge potential. Smart home systems that automatically adjust lighting, color, and temperature to support our circadian rhythms. Those incredibly expensive light bulbs NASA made for the space station. The tech is becoming affordable now. Personalized sleep tracking and medicine, tailoring advice to our individual biology, that's coming too.
And education. Does just knowing this stuff help people sleep better?
Knowledge helps, for sure. In my university course on sleep, students increase their average sleep time by about 42 minutes a night just by learning the science.
That's pretty good.
It is. But what seems to be even more powerful for long-term change is exposure to your own data.
Using wearables, like fitness trackers.
Exactly. When your watch doesn't just tell you how long you slept, but shows you, say, how that extra glass of wine obliterated your REM sleep, or how consistently getting only 6 hours is statistically increasing your personal risk profile for Alzheimer's or weakening your immune response to a flu shot. That personalized, immediate feedback loop seems to be incredibly motivating.
Making it concrete and personal.
Yes, which makes it even sadder that in surveys, basically 0% of people report ever receiving any meaningful education about sleep in school. It's a massive gap in health literacy.
So we need sleep education from a young age.
Absolutely. And finally, organizations can create incentives. The insurance company Aetna famously offered employees bonuses like $25 a night, up to $500 a year for consistently logging 7+ hours of sleep via a tracker.
Paying people to sleep.
Yeah, why not? Health insurance could offer lower premiums for verifiably good sleep habits, just like some do for gym memberships. Make it financially advantageous to prioritize sleep.
Interesting. Aligning financial incentives with biological needs.
It's about shifting the culture to recognize sleep's true value.
So, wrapping this all up,
Yeah.
the core message seems crystal clear.
I hope so. Sleep isn't negotiable. It's not a luxury you can trim when you're busy. It is a fundamental, biologically mandated need. It's your built-in, nightly, universal healthcare provider, offering this incredible bounty of health benefits that, honestly, no drug or lifestyle change can fully replicate.
It really is foundational. Which leads to a final thought, maybe a challenge for everyone listening. Considering everything we now know, all this evidence, if we, as individuals and as a society, keep marginalizing sleep, keep treating it as optional, what's the real cost? Not just to our health or our economy, but maybe to our collective potential, our innovation, our very humanity. What steps, starting tonight perhaps, will you take to reclaim this essential life-sustaining pillar of your biology?